I always struggled with meditation. I'm a certified hypnotist, a psychology major, a martial artist, a tarot card reader, but meditation? Forget it. I couldn't do it. And that is what kept me from awakening my spiritual gifts for a long time. My tarot cards were telling me to meditate all the time. I would go to psychic advisors and they would tell me the same thing. They would say my spirit guides were telling them that I need to meditate. And I was just like, okay, well, will somebody tell me how? And I would try things and nothing would work for me. I just couldn't do it. So in this video, I am going to tell you three things. I'm going to tell you, first of all, why is it so freaking important to meditate? And number two, what is it? What in the heck is meditation? We don't have a good word for it here in the West. And then I'm going to give you my formula for you newbies out there that have a hard time meditating. I'm going to show you how you can actually enjoy it. So I have one of those crazy active minds too, right? I have ADHD, you could say. Yeah. So for these things to work for me, I know they can work for most anyone. So let's start out with why meditate. I'm just going to give you three quick little things here. Number one, it actually helps tremendously with your emotional control. It will relax your nervous system, which is your fight or flight response and stuff. It will also shrink your amygdala in your brain. The amygdala is the alarm center in your brain that says, hey, alarm, alarm, it's time for you to react and go into fight or flight mode. When you do a regular daily meditation practice, your amygdala shrinks so that the fear alarm is not so overactive. It's not responding to somebody stressing you out like a lion is freaking attacking you. Okay, so that's the number one. You want to relax your nervous system and everything will just calm down and you won't be so reactive. That's the biggie, right? The second reason that I love is it actually balances the chemicals in your brain and your body, including your hormones. Okay, so if you have some hormonal stuff going on, you have some imbalances in your chemicals, this can actually help you balance that. It will actually change the chemistry and the way that your organs work inside of your body. The third reason is that it will actually make you more creative and intuitive and intelligent. So if you are looking to awaken your intuition, awaken your psychic abilities, get more into, the whole idea of spiritual development, this is the way to go. And bonus, meditation actually opens your heart chakra and puts you into what we call the bliss state, or a state of ecstasy. It makes you feel really, really good. And it's hard to explain that other than to say that a state of ecstasy, a state of overflow of compassion, you'll feel that rushing through you. And you'll just feel so much compassion and so much tolerance and understanding when you actually get into real meditative work over a little period of time. When you hit meditative state, that is when you are in what we call the bliss state. And this is how you actually know if you're meditating or not, because meditation is a result. Meditation is a state. It's not an act itself. There are certain techniques and exercises you can use to put yourself into a meditative state. But how do you really know if you're meditating or if you're in that meditative state or if you're just sitting there, right? Because you can just sit there with your eyes closed. And I've heard people say, oh, I meditate all the time. I just sit there and think about things. It's not meditation. Okay, when you're talking to yourself in your head or you're sitting there listening to music and thinking, you are not meditating. That is not the meditative state. The meditative state is, like I said, the bliss state. In a lot of yogic practices, they say that what happens is you go into what we call dhyana. Dhyana is where you create that separation. It's the separation between your emotional body, your mental body, and you, like the real you, the internal you, the higher self you, steps back and you have that separation, that gap. And that gap allows what we call the bliss body to express itself. And that bliss body expressing itself is that overflow of compassion. Now, you can get into the neuroscience of this as well and say, okay, you have a lot of dopamine that comes up with these exercises. You have a lot of chemicals that change. Yeah, but you know what? It makes you a lot more tolerant. It changes the organs in the body, like the amygdala shrinks. It changes chemistry, changes your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system in a lot of ways. So, as long as you're doing these practices, you're going to get the results, which is what you want. You want the result of getting into the bliss state. You want the results of what this bliss state can give you, which is a better life, a happier life, a more joyful life. So let's talk about my formula. I remember one time I was in an airplane. I was in one of those little tiny airplanes over the beach. I live in, Florida, and I grew up in the Daytona area, New Smyrna area. And one time I went up in New Smyrna Beach. I went in this little tiny airplane and we were flying over the ocean, right where the beach was, right? And I could see all these sharks lined up outside of where the waves were, right outside of where all the surfers and everybody was swimming. You could see all these sharks lined up. And it was beautiful being in that airplane. But think about it. Beautiful from the airplane, that separation. But man, if you're in there, those sharks, those are like your thoughts. Thoughts can destroy people, right? They are chaotic. They control you. They can really just cause you a lot of anxiety and stress. So this meditation state that I keep talking about, it's that separation. You are separating, and you are separating from your thoughts. You're separating from yourself in a way that you can see yourself. You become the observer. You create a gap. You create quietness, peacefulness. And again, that ecstasy and that bliss can come through. What we're doing when we are getting into a meditative state is we are separating and, separating from that lower self, that instinctual animal self. And that separation, it actually gives you control over that lower self. And that's what you want. You want to be able to control your mind, control your emotions, right? And control your instincts and understand them. And as you create that separation, you are separating from suffering. You are separating from that unhappiness that we get into. And you are learning to develop more joy and more love and more tolerance and more understanding for yourself and for others. You start seeing things much more clearly when you are able to meditate. So when we're happy, right, we are relaxed, our energy is flowing, our chakras are moving. But when we're unhappy, we get into this animal nature. We start protecting ourselves. We start constricting our energy and feeling like we need to protect, right? And so think about it. When you're around somebody that is a joyful person, you're more relaxed, you feel good, right? When you're around somebody that is more negative or judgmental, somebody that makes you unhappy, you feel like you have to be careful. You have to keep your shields up, right? So I want you to think about that state versus that state, right? Which one do you want to be in? Because the meditative state will take you into a more joyful, relaxed type of nature. So my basic formula for getting into a meditative state, my basic formula, now there's a lot of other things we could do, right? But my basic is a 3-step formula. I start off with Qigong. Qigong it just means energy work. So I start off with relaxing the body with Qigong exercises, energy body exercises. And, I really just loosen up the body, get everything flowing, get the energy flowing, get the aura expanded more. And then I take it to step 2. My step 2 is high magic rituals. Magical ritual is a method of using external symbols to activate internal consciousness states, to go into an altered state through magical symbols. Okay, so instead of just thinking about something, you're actually using correspondences outside, external correspondences, like we use, the sword for the mental, we'll use a cup, we'll use water, we'll use incense for air, we'll use fire, the candles, flashing tattoo cards, tarot cards, symbols from the tree of life. We use external symbols as they're like keys. And those keys open these gates of consciousness that we want to go into. And so that is my second step, is using magical ritual and the correspondences and the gates to open up those states of consciousness, put you into a very deep, altered state in the astral plane. It also helps you to balance the energy and to invoke more energy into your light body when you do these magical rituals. So my second step is my big step. And then my third step is tantric yoga. And with tantric yoga, I use, a combination, just like anybody that practices tantra, really. We use mudras with the hands to activate certain energy lines. We use mantras, which are sounds like the seed mantras or bija mantras. Those sounds you use, like, for instance, if I were to vibrate the sound vong, that would be a seed mantra in tantric work. And what I'm doing is I'm going, and when I do that, I'm focusing on the second chakra. I'm focusing on the color orange. I'm focusing on these symbols in my mind's eye at this point, because now I'm in an altered state, remember. And so I'll do the and it'll start activating. I'll start moving that energy, and then I go into vang and G. What I'm doing now is I'm getting the sinus cavities to vibrate. And those sinus cavities, when they vibrate, you're activating a pineal gland, which is the third eye. Now, of course, with the tantric work, I always start with pranayama, which is breath work. Breath is so important in this kind of work. And it's also very healing, brings a lot of oxygen into the blood, does a lot of things in terms of healing the body and the mind. So anyways, that's my basic formula, the 3 steps of Qigong, high magic ritual, and Tantra. Now, I teach that basic formula step by step, along with reading your astrology chart, path working the tree of life, and tarot card reading, all in my program, the Magical Mystery School membership. If you're not in there, or if you know somebody else that needs to be in there, jump in now, because we have it on special, only $3.99 for the first month for you to try it out. It's seriously as much as a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So you should try it with us if you're not. If you want to learn with me, if you want somebody that's your guide, that you go and actually talk to, I'm available every week for you guys, and I'm on a private chat with all of you if you're in the membership. And if you are in the membership, make sure you're using it. Make sure that you're reaching out. Make sure that you're in their live sessions, or at least watching the replays. Go through the coursework I have. Let me know when you have questions. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope this meditation video was helpful for you.